I'm Swagnar, and this is my Shayne Aurox Brawler guide for the Battleborn Open Beta, which is out right now. It ends tomorrow, and then the full game will release. So I like to build Shayne Aurox as a Brawler because I feel they could be a support, could be a full damage. The full damage build isn't really quite there, and teammates are really bad right now because no one knows what they're doing, so support doesn't really work. Shayne Aurox's abilities are fleet-footed, which means when Aurox is not on your back, you move 30% faster. You have your basic melee, you have your boomerang, you can go invisible with your stealth strike, you have fetch, which is basically a hook from any MOBA you can think of, like a thresh hook, blitzcrank hook, pudge in Dota, that sort of thing, and then you have tag team as your ultimate. Now here's the build helix. First you want welcome committee because the overshield is much better than the damage. The damage is literally nothing, so it's really not worth it. After that you're going to want to take surprise party, which means your first attack after the conclusion of stealth strike does extra damage. This is great for bursting people down before they have a chance to fight you back. Next you want Hulk out with your Jin out, which means your shield recharges faster, which this build is heavily reliant on your shield, so you need that. After that you want what's yours is mine, which means when you use your fetch you steal some shield, so you're pulling them closer and you're getting back shield, so you'll be harder to kill, especially for ranged champions trying to kill you. Next you want the immortal Aegis, which means at the conclusion of any skill, Shayne Aurox shield immediately begins to recharge. Like I said, your shield is very important with this build. Next, you want Shield Smasher, which means you do 60% shield penetration. This is good for taking down heavy targets like Montana or Isaac, who have huge shields. Next, you want Bigger and Badder Jin, which means you just have 240 maximum shield strength, which is continually adding to the shield, which will be pretty big by the end of the match. After that, you want Jin to the face, which means your stealth strike does 15% extra damage. And after that you want Sikkim Aurox, which means your fetch damage does 50% more damage. Now you're still just building more and more damage here. With your ultimate you're going to want Aurox Beckons, which adds a 3-second slow duration and a little pull to the middle of your ultimate. This is because your ult is already really difficult to hit, so this slow and the pull is going to make it a lot easier to hit, and you're going to be able to use your grab to pull other people back into it, and they're going to have a hard time getting away. Next we're going to go into itemization. I like to go with a shield item, a cooldown reduction item, and an armor item. Right now I'm using this Lucky Random Battery, the Greyhound, and the Gilded Pauldron. This basically means you're going to be able to use your abilities more often, and you're not going to take as much damage, which will be helpful for you and your team. Now here are some tactics to use when you're playing as Shayne Aurox. The first one you're going to want to use a lot is Invisible Engage. It is exactly what it sounds like. You want to go invisible and then attack your enemies before they know you're there. You're going to get your extra damage from the passives you've been purchasing with your skill points and your skill helix, and you're just going to be able to do a lot of damage right away. The next thing you're going to want to be able to do is the double tap L1. It's L2 for me because I play with a different control scheme. Instead of using triggers, that's one tip for you guys, don't use the triggers. The triggers are not as good as the L1 or R1 buttons if you're playing on PlayStation. So what I'm talking about here is with the double L1 is when you're in the middle of a fight and your invisibility is up, don't use it as invisibility, because we didn't purchase the damage with that. You're not going to be doing anything if you use that. You're not even going to be able to use your abilities very well. So what you want to do is when someone gets very close to you, you want to double tap L2 as fast as you can, and you're instantly going to throw Aurox straight up in the air, and then he's going to come right back down, do a couple hundred damage right away. It's actually a quite good burst. After that, you have saving your pull. This is something that other MOBA players probably recognize pretty well, and that is that your pull is the most important part of your kit, so using it when you don't need to is a bad idea. It also has, I believe, a 20-second cooldown, which is a very long time in this game. So what you're going to want to do with it is not use it to engage, but use it to disengage, or to stop the enemies from disengaging. So when they start running away, you'll still have your pull up, you'll be able to grab them and pull them back into your team, or they will die, because by the time they're leaving, they're most likely already almost dead anyway, and it will be able to keep people away. Another thing you're going to want to use your pull to do is to pull people away from a healer. So if you see, say, a Miko or a Reyna who has the overshield, you're going to want to either pull the healer or you're going to want to pull the enemy away from the healer. That way, as you can see, I'm going to do it right here. So I pull this, I think it's Oscar Mike, I pull him away, and then the healer can no longer heal him, and the healer runs because he thinks it's over, and we're able to track down that kill as well. In this way, you're not going to be able to let the healers do their job or the overshielders do their job, and you're going to be able to get kills much faster and much more efficiently. The other thing you're going to want to do is the invisible escape, which is exactly what it sounds like. Just like the invisible engage, you're just going to want to go invisible and run away when you get to low health. Going invisible gives you a little bit of a shield, so you'll be able to get away a little bit easier with that because of the passives you have. But one thing I like to do is, when I have about half my health left, I will go invisible, run around a wall, and come back around the other side. There's a lot of places to do that on the map where you can go one place and then come back around and flank the enemy. That's going to be a great tactic because they think you just turn tail and you're running away. They're not going to be expecting you to come up behind them, use your L2, and do a ton of damage right away on them, and they won't really be expecting it, and you'll be able to pick up a kill most of the time. Now, when I was first learning to play Shayne Aurox, I really thought the boomerang was pretty useless. I couldn't really figure out what it was for. It didn't seem to be doing much damage. I couldn't really hit it. It's very difficult to hit. That was because I thought the animation for it is you have to tap L1 once and then he throws it, which is what it kind of looks like it should be. But if you hold L1 down like I'm doing in the video right now, you actually have a quite solid fire rate on that, and they bounce around. So if you're far away or the enemy has a bunch of ranged damage dealers and you don't feel comfortable going into the fray of the battle because you know you're going to take a ton of damage, instead just throw your boomerang from afar. It actually does really nice damage, more than I was expecting actually. I was kind of expecting it to be a pretty weak attack, and then I started using it a bunch more and I realized I was actually doing pretty solid damage. It's also good for taking out minion waves from afar and for engaging. Right here I'm about to do what I was telling you about a second ago. I go invisible, run around this wall so they're all facing the other direction, and then come back down on them, and they're not expecting it. And then there's the final tactic right there, and that's the wall pull. What you're going to want to do is either be on top of a wall or below a wall, and then use your R2, your pull, and you want to pull someone off of the wall. If this enemy doesn't have a double jump, they're stuck, and they're probably going to die because, especially on that wall that I just pulled off of, which is the one I like to do it the most, you're actually pulling them into the range of one of those rocket turrets that do a ton of damage, and you're basically securing a free kill. The other way you can do it is to be on top of that wall and pull them up off of the ground there, and that still pulls them into the range of the stinger turrets with the rockets, and you will still be doing a lot of damage. Thanks for watching my guide on Shayne Aurox. If you guys enjoyed this one, you can check out my guide on Oscar Mike, which has a lot of good tips for you on how to play him. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day. Swagnar out.